Definitions of stereotype. A stereotype is when we make a generalization about the behaviors of a group and then assume that a member of that group will show that behavior. A stereotype is a way of interrupting the world around us and can be considered a cognitive schema. As such, apply to social world. They support communities' perception of the outgroup or the other.
Yes, that's correct. A stereotype is a generalized belief or assumption about the characteristics of a group, often applied to individuals within that group. These
Oh,
stereotypes act as cognitive schemas, helping us organize and interpret information about the social world.
yeah,
However,
yeah. Let's
they
okay. So generalization is kind of like an attribute, right? The word is like a kind of like attribute. Could you just use generalization, make some examples, let me to understand it clear? Thank you.
Sure. Generalization is like making a broad statement or assumption based on limited information. For example, if you meet a few tall basketball players and then assume that all basketball players are tall, that's a generalization. It's an attribute assigned to the entire group based on a few examples, which may not accurately represent everyone in that group.
Okay, so could you explain to me what is cognitive schema? Conic conic.
Certainly, a cognitive schema is like a mental framework or blueprint that helps us organize and interpret information. It's like a mental shortcut that allows us to quickly make sense of the world based on past experiences and knowledge. For example, if you have a schema for what a dog is, when you see a new animal that fits this schema, four legs, fur, barks, you'll quickly recognize it as a dog. These schemas help us navigate the world efficiently, but can also lead to stereotyping when applied to social groups.
Yes, I mean, I really love your expression. Let's really clear and understand. So everybody in our head, in our mind, we have like cognitive schema method environment, right? It's kind of like as nature of humans, so we can't remove it.
Exactly, you've got it. We all have cognitive schemas as part of our mental processing. They're natural and help us interpret the world efficiently. While we can't remove them, we can be aware of them and work to challenge or adjust them when necessary, especially if they lead to unfair judgments or stereotypes.
Okay, mental shortcuts allow us to quickly make sense. It makes sense, right? It makes sense. Make sense. It makes sense.
It makes
Sense.
sense. So, mental shortcuts allow us to make sense of the world around us. Good question.
I got it. I got cognitive schema. I got it. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Okay, so mental shortcuts that allows us to quickly make sense of the world based on past experiences and knowledge. That's good. That's good. As such, apply to social world. Let's support the communities of perception. What's the meaning of perception? Perception.
Perception refers to the way we interpret and understand information from the world around us. It involves using our senses and cognitive processes to form an understanding or impression of our environment. For example, two people might have different perceptions of the same event, seeing it in unique ways based on their experiences and knowledge.
I'm trying to see this. The perception is kind of like a, a similar like opinion, just opinion, but it's not, right? So my teacher says no, it's not like a opinion. It's kind of like yeah.
Your teacher is right. While perception and an opinion might seem similar, they are different. Perception is about how we interpret sensory information to form an understanding or impression of the world. An opinion is a personal belief or judgment that may be influenced by perceptions, but also includes individual preferences, beliefs, and experiences.
Okay, perceptions refers to the way we interpret. Okay, could you just use Perception, make example and explain me like a kid. Thank you. Explain it to me, a kid. Yeah, like a kid.
Sure. Imagine you're outside playing. You see a dog wagging its tail and running towards you. Your perception might be that the dog is friendly and wants to play. Another kid might see the same dog and perceive it as scary because they once had a bad experience with a dog. So, perception is like how our minds understand or see things based on what we've experienced before. It's like how we each have our own pair of glasses that make us see the world a little differently.
Okay, so I gotta say, yeah, we always talking about this in Chinese. Is everybody's different. Everybody has different perceptions, so you cannot let others to understand you, and you as, on the other hand, you also can understand them as well. Is that correct?
Yes, that's a good point. Everyone has their own unique perceptions, shaped by their experiences and background. This means we might see things differently from others, and they might see things differently from us. It's important to remember this in communication, as it can help us be more understanding and patient with each other.
Yeah, that's totally correct. It's just okay. Lately, I was thinking about this. Like you cannot change anyone's perception because, and everybody's different. Everybody's perception is different. So you cannot like everybody to listen from you. To yeah. Just So that's why I don't want to. Every time when I try to have just arguments when a little bit arguments are started or whatever, so I just stop because I hate to thinking about, okay, so do not trying to change anyone's perception.
That's a thoughtful approach. Arguing to change someone's perception can be challenging because our perceptions are deeply rooted in our experiences and beliefs. By recognizing this, you're choosing a path of understanding and acceptance, which can lead to more peaceful interactions. It's okay to express your perspective, but understanding that not everyone will see things the same way can make discussions more constructive and less stressful.
Okay, so let me continue read the okay, so the definition of stereotype. Okay, definition of stereotype. Okay, so yeah, so just like so there are many this word for me is pretty hard to pretty difficult to pronounce. Theories, theories. There's many theories explaining how stereotypes are formed. One theory is the social identified theory, Tardifel, 1970. It claims that we form our stereotypes when we compare to our in-group or to an out-group.
You're doing great with these complex topics. Yes, there are many theories about how stereotypes form. Social identity theory is one of them. It suggests that we form stereotypes to distinguish between our in group, the group we belong to, and out groups, those we don't belong to. This comparison can lead to stereotypes as we try to understand and categorize others.
Okay, here's a really good example. Okay, in my company, we are all part of the big team, but there are some informal groups that from natural, but there are some informal groups that from naturally colleagues with similar interests, right? Interests or friendships often have lunch together, creating these in groups while we're not officially divided. These groups influence how we interact with the larger team dynamic.
That's a perfect example. In a workplace, even though everyone is part of the larger team, smaller groups often form naturally based on shared interests or friendships. These in groups can affect how people interact within the larger team dynamic, even if there aren't official divisions. It's a real world example of how in groups and out groups operate.
Okay, let's go ahead. Okay, another theory that's trending. Okay, says that stereotype is cognitive bias. What's mean cognitive bias? Could you explain to me, like Kate, or let me understand it well. Thank you.
Sure. Imagine you have a favorite toy and you think it's the best toy ever. Now, whenever you see other toys, you might only notice things that aren't as good as your favorite. This is like a cognitive bias. It's when our brains favor information that matches what we already believe or prefer, and we might ignore or overlook information that doesn't fit. It's like our brains playing favorites with what we think is true.
Yeah, it's kind of like a how to say that? Okay, so oh yeah, I just found an example. I just found a website, and this title is "What is a cognitive bias?" So I was okay. So in my perception, based on my perception, I think the cognitive bias is kind of like I just watched a romantic film, and I think this is the best ever film I have watched. I think even in for yeah, just like the best romantic films. But when I see others, they are want to see other films, and they're great too. But I don't buy it. It's like kind of like a I don't know how to describe it. Yeah.
Yes, that's a good example of cognitive bias. If you believe a particular romantic film is the best ever, you might unconsciously compare all other romantic films to it. Even if other films are objectively great, you might not enjoy them as much because they don't match your strong positive feelings for your favorite film. This bias can make it hard to appreciate other movies on their own merits.
Yeah, this totally makes sense. You're totally correct. Okay, so what is okay? Let me read it. Okay, what is cognitive bias? Cognitive bias is semantic semantic thought process caused by the tendency of human brain to simplify information processing through a filter of personal experience and the prefer preference. The filtering process is coping my mechanism that enables the brain to para forgot how to pronounce it. Parasize. Okay, parasize. Okay, give me a second. Parasize and process large amount of information quickly while the okay it's affected its limitation and can cause errors, low insult. Paras. Okay, forgot how to pronounce this word.
That word is pronounced perses.
No.
So,
No. The word is like a Prioritize. Has one, two, three, four syllables.
got it. The word is prioritize.
Yeah,
So, the sentence means that cognitive bias acts like a coping mechanism, helping the brain prioritize and process large amounts of information quickly. However, this shortcut can lead to mistakes or errors in judgment.
Yeah, that's correct. Okay, so I do believe that example is good. If you believe like a particular romantic film is the best ever, you might unconsciously compare other romantic films to it. Even if other films are objectively great, you might not enjoy them as much because they don't match your strong positive feeling for you feel. Okay, so how about you give me another example of the cognitive bias?
很抱歉，您已达到高级语音模。
Okay, I'm okay, all right. So I got to use the standard, the basics voice mode now. Actually, GPT, okay, let's talk about the cognitive cognitive bias. So could you just give me example, simple example to explain what is a cognitive bias?
Sure. A cognitive bias is like a mental shortcut your brain takes that leads to errors in thinking. For example, imagine you meet someone